During the summer months of these shows, everyone wants to stand here at the Cornwell products booth because this is lovely and cool. This is Mark Baker, who's the director of Cornwell. Thanks for having us at your place.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
And this is the Cornwell
Cooling cell, that's right.
Okay, you do the French pronunciation better than me. And this is a cooling cell. So explain what we're looking at here.
So this is a kind of variation on a historical theme. So typically cooling is a part of most industry sectors that we found, which is kind of left behind in time a little bit. It hasn't been developed and it's been kind of left as a very necessary process, but maybe something that hasn't been innovated so much. So the Cornwell cell essentially is a ventilating cell, so we're sending air through the product. And if you feel, we get a good amount of airflow through everywhere on the pallet. So we've got a patented system to stop the bypass of air underneath and around and over the pallet.
Okay, so let's just rewind and talk about the problems with existing cooling products. And these are done with, are they called blast chillers?
Blast chillers typically, or other cooling tunnels as well. So,
okay, so you put your goods in there.
That's right.
And what do they look like and what do they do?
So we can have a pallet of goods, whether it's crates, whether it's boxes with holes in. So all of your hot fill and warm fill dairy products, for example, will have been cooled in this way or a similar way. So typically you would put a pallet historically into a tunnel or into a blast chiller, and cold air will be blasted at it and blown at it. The issue with that is that it will always try and find the route of least resistance. So it will pass under the pallet, around the pallet, but not so much of the air will go through. So the patented system from Cornwell forces not all, obviously some will bypass in some way, but the majority of the cold air will be forced through the product.
So it's almost like, not quite, but almost like an airtight seal.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you achieve that? This feels a bit like possibly the coolest bouncy castle that I've ever been near.
The only moving part on this is a fan on the back of the cell. So that's what we use to inflate the bags, if you like, or the sheets that are on the side that make the air tightness system.
This sounds like quite an obvious solution. Why have people not thought of this before?
So the funny thing is that I tell the guys internally this is the hardest easy cell because it's very efficient. We've got a test cell that we can send to sites for people to actually test it for themselves and see how efficient it is. When you tell somebody that normally we'd expect to be at least 5 times faster than their existing blast chiller, it's quite something you need to back up with some data. So we have the test cell to send there.
So you can cool things 5 times faster than the blast chiller, and that is because the air doesn't miss the product. Most of it goes through.
It depends on the type of product. It depends on the packaging. But typically, we'll expect to be at least 5 times faster than a blast chiller with the same temperature of air.
And that is simply because most of it is normally escaping around, going around.
100%.
So you gave me some figures about the temperature that's going on in here versus the temperature you'd need to get to in a blast chiller. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so we did some testing with the test cell, and it is essentially one of these that we can deliver to our customer's site. So we did some testing. They had a blast chiller at -11 that they would put their products inside. We did some testing actually in their distribution area at 4 degrees, and we got down to a temperature around 5, quicker with air at +4 than they did in -11.
And that's simply by passing the air directly through it rather than it going around.
Yeah, and the savings for that are massive in terms of energy and cost, and also quality of product. If you've got a dairy product, for example, you don't want to freeze it because that can cause some issues with quality.
Are there any technical differences with getting air down to, let's say, -11 versus 4? I mean, it sounds obvious, but do you need different equipment to actually get that air down to that temperature?
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, it's also a thing about duty as well. So people have a certain amount of capacity within their cooling systems. If we can take some of that out of it by the way that we cool, then they can use it elsewhere without needing to invest in other technology for cooling on site.
Now, this stuff is poking out the fronts, but where is the air coming in, and does it get slightly warmer by the time it gets to the other end of the tunnel?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's marginal, but there is a slight offset between the back and the front. So the cell, as I said before, is a ventilating cell, so we take the air that it's given. So we can create that, or the customer can have that already themselves on site. So with the cold air, we are drawing it in with the fan and blowing it through the product. It does then, a lot of people's products, typically the hardest part of it to cool is the center of the pallet. For us, with this way, conventionally, for us, with blowing, the front of the pallet is actually the hardest point to cool. So with the pattern that Cornwell has, they've now developed that further and created a bidirectional cell. So we can actually alternate between blowing the air and sucking the air, which then means we can take out that offset between the front and the back of the cell as well.
So with the same products, you'll blow it for half and then you'll suck it all back in. Could you connect two of them together so that the air coming out of this goes into the other and is sucked through?
You know, it's really interesting. A lot of people have asked that, but you actually lose a lot of efficiency by doing it. So the benefit that you'd get in terms of footprint and not buying two, you actually lose that in efficiency. It's a good question, though.
Well, thank you, and that is why I am not working in your industry. All right, well, we're just going to chill for a bit. Yeah.
You're in the right spot.